I think it's an interesting point because a lot of folks out here have told me this is sad. This is not sad because of what the people are doing. They said it's sad it's come to this. They've reached the point.
Yes.
They're mad and they want to do something about it. The Trump administration's immigration policies, the ICE raids that have been happening in the last couple of days here in Los Angeles brought this city to its breaking point, and that's why Angelenos are doing exactly this.
Demonstrators surrounded the facility where dozens are being detained, prompting police to form a barricade and fired tear gas.
You can see here one of the protesters being run over by an ICE vehicle.
This Black Hawk moved in just in the last few minutes from the Border Patrol, landing at that Homeland Security office.
Check this dude out. Threw his bike at the police.
Civil unrest, and again, when we talk about peaceful versus...
Throwing him the bird.
Part of the movement, they want to be part of the resistance. That doesn't necessarily mean they want to be part of assaulting officers, of vandalism, of burning cars, or of anything like that. But being
once again,
oftentimes
I'm not for burning cars.
What's happening with some folks?
But those are Waymos
Of that car fire. But guess what?
So if they were just burning some innocent bystander's car,
right now,
I would be against that. That's not cool. I don't want some innocent person to lose their car.
That's
not what protest is about, and that's not what these protesters did.
Demonstrators out there.
Those are Waymos.
They're sporting event.
And Waymos are horrible.
And so they're
Lenny, welcome in.
Between what is happening right now, whether these cars burning are truly along with the it's not a peaceful demonstration, but whether they're actually out there to make their voices heard, or whether they're just out there to take pictures of themselves.
Waymo justifiable.
Once the crowd
exactly.
And Jory, it's an interesting point too, because you mentioned the mayor talking about how she wants it to be peaceful and she doesn't want things to go sideways or anyone to get hurt. I think it's an interesting point because a lot of folks out here have told me this is sad. This is not sad because of what the people are doing. They said it's sad it's come to this. They've reached the point.
Yes.
They're mad and they want to do something about it. And I think that's what the mayor kind of alluded to as well, is the fact that she's not necessarily blaming Angelenos for this. She's blaming what led up to make Angelenos do this. And I think that's a subtle but important difference of the folks out here as well, and what the mayor was trying to convey, in the sense that the Trump administration's immigration policies, the ICE raids that have been happening in the last couple of days here in Los Angeles brought this city to its breaking point, and that's why Angelenos are doing exactly this. And I think that's the sentiment by and large. I've only talked to a handful of people kind of on the outskirts here who said, this is sad. I hate to see it come to this in the city, but something needs to be done, and this is how they're lashing out.
Bam.
Seen those ICE...
And that's a good transition. We'll check back in with the live shot. That's a good transition to us talking about exactly what it was that led up to this. Al Jazeera reporting ICE launches military-style raids in Los Angeles. More than 40 people have been arrested by immigration officials in what has been described as an oppressive and vile paramilitary operation. This is a picture from Friday, June 6th. Los Angeles Police Department officers moved to disperse a protest after federal immigration authorities conducted an operation. Los Angeles witnessed a series of coordinated raids by United States law enforcement officials on Friday, resulting in the arrest of dozens and igniting widespread protests. The raids, which were carried out in a military-style operation, have intensified concerns about the forces used by federal immigration officials and the rights of undocumented individuals. Now, what might we mean by military-style? Why would we think it's a military-style operation? Oh, I don't know, fucking Black Hawk helicopter dropping off supplies sparks alarm. Some of the original clashes on Friday. Did Newsweek catfish me and not show me the actual Black Hawk helicopter video? Once again, not anything bad. If this is the most violent footage you can put forward. And those absolutely were the cops protecting the facility. Her ICE was based in carrying out the raid from. The news report showing what appears to be a Black Hawk helicopter resupplying federal officials clashing with protesters who are demonstrating against immigration enforcement tactics has sparked alarm. Since his inauguration in January, President Donald Trump has implemented sweeping changes, mainly through executive orders, and has prioritized immigration control as a key pillar. An unverified video from Channel 7 showed a helicopter landing in a Paramount near a Department of Homeland Security office at around 5:45 p.m. on Saturday. This is the video in question.
It's a surreal sight. This Black Hawk moved in just in the last few minutes from the Border Patrol, landing at that Homeland Security office on the Paramount side, right next to the Home Depot, and they are unloading this huge helicopter with, I mean, just boxes and boxes, dozens of boxes of ammunitions, less lethal weaponry. You see these tanks with flammable labels on the side, one after another, an entire shipment, as if they were getting ready for some kind of a major battle. I mean, it really has to be said, this is a remarkable sight. In the middle of a suburban street here, where they are
just don't clip that.
All of these weapons, carts full of boxes and flammable weaponry. So you can see that it just made its own parking spot there in the parking lot of that Homeland Security office on the other side of the river, where all of this is taking place, and just a few blocks from that Home Depot and right across the freeway from where that car fire was, just a few blocks away, and the protesters and Sheriff's Department had been squaring off. But this site here at the Homeland Security office of these federal officials unloading dozens of boxes of weapons and ammunition.
All wearing masks.
Quite a sight to behold here. Something I really don't recall ever seeing here. Guys, back to you.
Yeah, it's surreal, isn't it? Federal agents from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the Department of Homeland Security, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the Drug Enforcement Administration conducted a series of immigration enforcement operations across L.A. on Friday morning. Individuals suspected of immigration violations and the use of fraudulent documents were arrested. The arrests were carried out without judicial warrants, according to multiple legal observers and confirmed by the American Civil Liberties Union. The LAPD, which did not take part in the raids, was called in to quell the ensuing protests. The raids were part of a broader initiative under the Trump administration's intensified immigration policies.
A show of force in Los Angeles. Masked officers in military-style uniforms, flanked by armored vehicles, took to several parts of the city. Dozens of people were bundled up in unmarked vans. Community groups say workers at a clothing store and a home hardware shop were targeted. No! The operation prompting a tense standoff with residents. Agents use flashbang grenades to try and clear crowds who hope to hinder their operation. An operation that's prompted heavy condemnation from activist groups.
Our community is under attack and is being terrorized. These are workers. These are fathers. These are mothers. And this has to stop.
Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass has expressed deep anger over the raids, calling them cruel and chaotic.
To me, when these things happen, it sows a sense of terror in the community. It's bad enough that it happened at this location, but the way this goes and spreads throughout the community, then people are not sure where they're safe.
The Trump administration has set a goal of detaining 3,000 undocumented people a day, vowing the largest deportation drive in the country's history.
What this does is it instills fear. There is chaos on the
history.
What this does is it instills fear.
Sorry, I was muted. You can see here one of the protesters being run over by an ICE vehicle.
Drive in the country's history.
What this does is it instills fear. There is chaos on the ground right now in LA. They are very likely to be sweeping in and racially profiling U.S. citizens, sweeping in people with lawful status, sweeping in people who are undocumented but pose absolutely no public safety threat.
Crowds outraged by the operations staged a protest, marching to the federal courthouse. Demonstrators surrounded the facility where dozens are being detained, prompting police to form a barricade and fired tear gas. California is home to the largest population of undocumented immigrants nationwide, and it's scenes like these that are spreading fear in communities. Bedad Mehichi, Al Jazeera.
Al Jazeera doing great reporting there. Let's get a flip perspective on it from
another demonstration began in Boyle Heights, walked their way across the river and the freeway.
If you see ICE in your community, call the cops.
Complex there. There was a second demonstration today at 2 p.m. outside City Hall. More than 1,000 people were gathered there. They made their way and joined the group at
call and report
at Alameda and Temple.
Say that you see
the confrontation happened today.
Masked people with guns. They look like a gang. You have no clue who they are.
LAPD was called in to move in and back those people up, and they did that, clearing out Alameda, pushing them into the intersection, and gaining control of that situation. As that was happening, some of the crowd dispersed, made their way around the facility.
You see masked armed men.
And onto the 101 freeway. That took about an hour at least to clear that situation. California Highway Patrol was
use the
freeway. That is
police state against itself.
So the state patrol of the California Highway Patrol came in, cleared off that freeway surface, spreading people out once again, and now they have moved to Los Angeles.
We need to frustrate ICE.
Focused on a fleet of Waymo cars, lighting all 5 of them on fire.
And pitting local law enforcement against them is a great way to do it.
Cars now melting down to the pavement.
That was a really good way of summing everything up, and that just really just goes to show day by day, demonstration by demonstration.
Oh, Waymo is this self-driving.
So we're zooming back into those Waymo cars. Have you seen something like this before?
They're like a delivery slash
EV fires.
Taxi service, and they're a menace to society. They have injured so many people, and they'll get like fucking.
But then I remember
they'll get locked up sometimes, and then they'll just start honking their horns, and like there's this lot where like a lot of Waymo cars started honking their horns next to an apartment building, and it was keeping the residents up all night.
And they have a lot of
an apparent blockade by some protesters using these chairs, like we said, from a nearby art installation, as building a fort, if you will. Looks like some construction signs and various other signs, and this is where things get pretty interesting. It looks like some of them are backing up now. I'm not sure. Okay, yes. So
the cops are just coming and firing. You saw it.
Move forward. They are using some of their less than lethal fire.
There was no reason for the cops to do that.
Letting this fort, if you will, become any more fortified, and they are making a move and having these protesters disperse and hopefully preventing something a little more serious from happening further down. So you can see those mounted units continuing down.
Why?
On foot, continuing to fire that less than lethal fire towards those protesters. You see that.
Are they knocking canisters back at the cops?
Smoke grenade, or if that was a water bottle from some of the protesters being thrown at one of the horses. And those horses are continuing to make their way down the street towards...
It was 100% the cops that instigated.
Completely destroyed, and they are continuing to push protesters down. I'm not sure if that's a bag rolling or if that's, or if it's...
That's a person.
Yeah, okay, yeah. It's
that is a person.
That was just kind of continuing to roll down.
Getting beat by the cops.
Horseback is, forcefully suggesting that person get up and continue moving down the street. And you could see here these other protesters, some of them were building that barricade.
I don't know. This has the ability to be like way bigger than 2020.
Street, and those officers with those rubber bullets continuing to make headway here.
And this has been the craziest thing to me. Watching libertarians side with the government.
Assaulting a horse is a grade 1 felony.
Coming down on the people.
Stuff at the horses. Those officers.
I knew you libertarians were phony. Always knew it.
Bruce, I'm curious. You mentioned
Right wingers are morons.
what the weapon that they're using is called. What are the injuries like with a straight stick if you get hit by it with the force that they're showing today?
Someone else and not you, Tim. I thought for a second.
And that, the fact that
we have seen that
people
we watched the
just can't go out and have dinner without assholes. Check this dude out. Threw his bike at the police.
Civil unrest, and again, when we talk about peaceful versus
throwing him the bird,
certainly not on the peaceful side of protest. And this guy's going to take another.
Yes,
he's kicking
and
authority
we'll see
in
how
the
long
balls.
these officials allow this to continue here. We do have LAPD officers right in the area, as this man twice now has hit this police vehicle with his bike and now seems to be leaving the area. Offensive speech is Stephen Miller. He writes about seeing different countries' flags as we're watching chunks.
Yeah, throw a rock. Fuck yeah.
101 freeway and those California Highway Patrol vehicles below.
Video from last night shows tense moments in downtown LA as protesters clashed with police, some setting off fireworks and starting fires. Officers responded with what appeared to be tear gas to disperse the crowds. And in a separate incident, demonstrators were seen entering a damaged convenience store in Compton and looting items from the inside. According to LAPD, multiple individuals who returned to the area after a dispersal order was issued on Alameda Street were arrested. 11 total arrests were made. Now back out here live, we've seen people walking down along the street, still wearing masks. Nothing has happened really yet.
Not live. This is a few hours ago. This is like the afternoon news.
LAPD says officers and National Guard troops will have a main presence in this area. Reporting in downtown LA, Amanda Palacios, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Okay, Amanda, thank you for the latest there. And day 3 of protests against ICE are set to continue today following yesterday's chaos. It all started in Paramount, where a clash between protesters and federal agents quickly became violent.
Some demonstrators threw rocks and fireworks at federal agents. The agents responded firing tear gas, pepper balls, and non-lethal rounds into the crowd. But even covered in bruises, demonstrators stayed.
We have a very beautiful community, a very strong community, and this is why we show up, and we're going to keep showing up because, well, it is an obligation and a duty for each and every one of us to be here and fight against the oppression and these kidnappings.
Federal agents say they arrested nearly 24 protesters just in the Paramount demonstration.
Meanwhile, there was also violence at protests in Compton. This is video from overnight. The protest started yesterday and lasted well into the night. Federal agents say they had to call in the LA County Sheriff's Department for backup. The standoff between protesters and agents lasted for more than 12 hours.
Happening tomorrow, one local union leader who was detained during Friday's ICE protests will be in court.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that more here in a bit.
United Service Workers and was hospitalized while protesting Friday's ICE raid in downtown LA. At some point, there was a scuffle with federal agents. That's when Huerta was allegedly pushed down and hit his head. He was later arrested, something city and state lawmakers have condemned. Eyewitness News spoke with his nephew shortly after the arrest.
I feel like he was marked for a certain reason. They're trying to make an example out of him, but they chose the wrong one. And nobody's going to back down from this fight, especially him. People need to understand this is only happening right now to immigrants, to people in this country legally, but pretty soon any kind of dissent is going to be criminalized. Everybody thinks it's happening to somebody else. Eventually it's going to come to their doorstep.
Again, Huerta is set to appear in court tomorrow. Ahead of the hearing, his supporters plan to hold a rally protesting the charges.
We will continue to follow up on any immigration raids and protests right here on ABC.
I feel like his statement was a good time for me to once again read this writing. It's very short. First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. And they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. We're right here. We're right here on the list. Right there on the list already. That should be scary to fucking anyone.